Yeah. So anyways, all right, this is, I don't know. I just,
Say, does anybody remember the Jesus chat line? The Jesus chat line was a satirical call-in show built specifically to be trolled. Richard Burnish and Stephen Chilton hosted the online show as an attempt to promote their own version of Christianity with the Neon Bible. This was so much fun to watch because the hosts set up the program so that the prank callers could steer it. They were hoping the callers would prank them and engage in unchristian behavior that could be angrily dismissed. The show was hilarious for both its exaggerated reactions to callers and its absurd portrayal of a budgeted Christian call-in show. There were also many great running gags, like the hosts had an obsession with Dad's Cream Soda, but only called it Dad's Cream. Richard and Steven would cut off calls by declaring them unacceptable or saying, this is a joke. Even when they broke character and laughed at their own bits or the callers, they recovered by hiding their faces and then apologizing by saying they crunched themselves.
My name is Gabby. Gabby Num Nums.
Would that, by chance... Oh, sorry, I crunched myself. Would that perhaps be from the movie Master of Disguise?
Indeed.
Plenty of thought went into the humor used to stage Richard and Steven as hypocritical Christians. They'll often cite outdated views on homosexuality and praying the gay away. They'll try to convince callers to donate to their church of the Neon Bible, which just reeks of a scam. They would play into narratives like the episode for Steven's funeral, in which Steven both intentionally and unintentionally reveals that he's not really dead on stream. If you look at the visuals they use for promoting their website, you can see pornography tabs in the browser. Richard and Steven also fight a lot with each other verbally and physically, revealing how little they practice what they preach. The Jesus chat line was funny for a lot of reasons, but what drove most of the comedy was the mockery of Christian media's attempt to scam an audience. It was a satire of that deceptive religious mindset, and it was funny stuff. Melonie Mac, on the other hand, is not a satire of that. She is a Christian YouTuber who uses her faith to discuss pop culture. In the abstract, I don't think it's an entirely red flag to approach media critique from a religious perspective. Those who favor the theologian route might be able to offer a unique angle on their dissection of Christian interpretations. They'd likely have more to say about the depiction of apostasy in Martin Scorsese's Silence, or the divine perceptions of morality through the comedy Good Fortune. But Melanie Macintosh isn't that type of Christian. She's the kind who likes to use homophobic slurs that get her banned from online platforms multiple times. She's also not very mindful of her health, as she has been hospitalized for dehydration multiple times. I would feel bad for her not getting enough water, but she makes very poor choices about what she consumes. Like, she eats a lot of butter. And by that, I don't mean she spreads butter on everything she eats. No, she literally eats sticks of butter like they're candy bars. And lest you think I'm criticizing some young person who doesn't know any better, I'd like to point out that Melanie and I are the same age. So now that you know we're not dealing with the brightest of Christ-loving gals, let us bear witness to how she applies her conservative Christian worldview to the realm of film and television. Let's start things off light with Captain America: Brave New World. To set the stage for my perspective, I didn't like this film because it felt very politically neutered. It had a chance to speak about the corrupt nature of American politics, but instead favors this lukewarm Manchurian candidate plot. I'm not expecting Melonie Mac to go that deep though, and based on this video's title, which highlights Trump derangement syndrome, I think she's mostly going to talk about how the new Captain America isn't patriotic enough, in her view.
So after saying Captain America doesn't represent America, and then Disney calling him up, and how do you do that calling him up and saying, hey man, can you not pull a Rachel Zegler and crash this and burn this film? So then he's like, well, actually, I just think Captain America has qualities that are other people that aren't just American can have. So whatever. So now Anthony Mackie, apparently he doesn't like the comparisons of Harrison Ford's Red Hulk to Donald Trump. And he's saying, chill the F out. And I say F. The only F word I say is of a slur variety.
Yep, this is Melonie Mac, folks. She won't say profanity, but she will use hateful, homophobic slurs, even if she knows they'll get her banned from platforms. The topic on this video has nothing to do with homosexuality, and she's already talking about wanting to use the F slur a mere 30 seconds in.
So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this video. So this comes to us from That Park Place. They said Anthony Mackie tells Access Media to chill the F out over Red Hulk Trump comparisons. So he's been drawing a firm line in the sand against political narratives surrounding Captain America, Brave New World, telling the press to chill out when it comes to comparisons, right? So I haven't even seen these comparisons, so I don't even know if they're good or bad. I don't know. I have no freaking idea.
If you have no freaking idea about the comparison being talked about here, what are you adding to this conversation? Why should people listen to you on this subject? And why should they trust any assertions you make when you're getting your news from a shitty publication like That Park Place? Surely it's not just because you're chasing trends so you can shoehorn in your hateful beliefs.
All right, so Mackie made this statement while defending Brave New World as literally the best movie it can be. Why does that not sound promising? If you say, okay, well, this is the best movie it can be. Instead of saying, wow, this movie's amazing, it's just, oh, well, it's the best it can be, guys. Yeah, I guess it is the best it can be whenever you take a freaking subplot from a comic that didn't even do well by making him Captain America in the first place instead of Steve Rogers. But okay.
It's not really a subplot. It's very much the plot of the Captain America comics. Sam Wilson received Cap's shield from a weakened Steve Rogers and officially became Captain America in 2014's all-new Captain America. Sam also didn't hold back in being more open about speaking out on political issues, making it disheartening that there isn't more of that in Brave New World. Also, I don't know if you're aware of how superhero comics work, but characters in these stories tend not to stay retired, or even dead for that matter. There was a time in the comics when Batman wasn't Bruce Wayne and Superman wasn't Kal-El. Because even though a version of Steve Rogers became the villain in Secret Empire, he still returned to the role of Captain America in 2021's United States of Captain America, which also kept Sam in the role of Captain America, because yes, there is room for two Captain Americas. All of this is to say that Sam Wilson becoming Captain America wasn't a minor part of the comics. I don't know why you think these comics sucked just because Steve Rogers wasn't playing Captain America. Maybe you preferred Steve's personality more, or you weren't impressed by the writing of Rick Remender, or you didn't like the costume, or, you know, you're racist.
Some people will try to defend a bunch of these dumb actions, right? Like, for example, making him Captain America here because they're like, well, it's comic accurate. Well, the comics did it. But here's the thing is what you see Disney Marvel doing is they're taking plots from failed comics, right? So they're taking things that happen in the comics that the fans didn't even like, and they're making that happen so they can still say, well, it's comic accurate, but nobody liked it.
Nobody liked Sam Wilson's run as Captain America? Weird thing to say, considering most critics seem to enjoy the comic. I even took a peek at the forum post from Comic Book Resources back when the comic was first released, and most readers seem to enjoy it. Even if you're talking about monetary success, the comic seemed to sell very well. And if fans supposedly hated this version of Cap, why was Sam kept around longer in the role? I'm not sure why you're arguing that this comic failed. You could just say you hated it. Like, you could just say that you didn't like it personally, instead of saying the fans hated it. You could argue that Disney shouldn't have adapted the comic you didn't like. You didn't have to make yourself look this stupid.
But when pressed by Esquire about the growing speculation that Ford's President Ross, who transforms into the volatile rage monster Red Hulk, was meant to serve as a Trump analog, Mackie shut it down. I hope as a country we're tired of all the political jousting, Mackie said. Let's just go to the movies and chill the heck out. We could have made this mother hecker yellow and it would have been a problem. Well, you know, I kind of respect that. Like, not even gonna lie. I don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what the writers were going for with this. Maybe they did try to do some Trump thing and some anti-Trump thing. All I know is that doing all these like political stuff in entertainment does not bode well, especially with everybody with TDS and all that kind of stuff in Hollywood.
Pretty sure Mackie was just tempering expectations. The presentation of President Ross as Red Hulk doesn't have much of an allegory to the Trump presidency. You could maybe see the association with how Ross loses his cool and fucks up Washington, but really, you kind of have to tilt your head and squint to make that relation.
So even though Mackie did really poop the bed when he said Captain America represents a lot of things, but not America, even though that was absolutely insane to say.
It's not exactly pooping the bed to say Captain America isn't primarily defined by representing America. The exact quote from Mackie was, "To me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity, someone who is trustworthy and dependable." Mackie would later clarify this statement by stressing that Captain America has more universal traits than strictly American ones. I also don't think it's un-American to be critical and questioning of your own country. This mindset is very much in line with the past Captain America movies. The Winter Soldier has Steve Rogers learning that he can't trust the American government when it's been infiltrated by Hydra. This distrust carries into Captain America Civil War, where Steve Rogers isn't on board with the oversight of the Sokovia Accords. Steve doesn't trust politicians, making him clash with Tony Stark's concerns over unchecked power within the Avengers. Hence, Steve Rogers became a fugitive, fleeing from the country that made him a hero. If you watched all the Marvel movies up to Brave New World and thought Captain America was only fighting for and representing America, then you have a very dim view of the character.
I think this is a lot more respectable. Like, bro, can we please stop with making everything political? This is just a movie about superheroes and stuff. Can we just enjoy it for being something crazy and not of reality?
Oh yeah, superhero media shouldn't address reality. That's why nobody liked Watchmen for addressing a Cold War fears, or Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters, for reflecting the Iran-Contra scandal. Nobody cared for The Boys because of its on-the-nose satire, which engaged too much with our current chaotic political landscape. Goddamn reality getting in the way of me enjoying my mindless superhero stories. I don't care about relatable allegories and themes. I just want to watch the good dude in the cape punch the bad dude in the cape.
I don't want to just dogpile Mackie here. Okay, I would really like to believe that he's not doing this crap on purpose, that he didn't purposefully pull a Rachel Zegler with that. I really want to believe that that was just foot and mouth disease and he just said something stupid. That's what I want to believe. But I don't know. How do you justify saying, oh, Captain America represents a lot of things, I just don't think America should be one of those? How do you justify saying that?
You justify it by highlighting that Captain America's strongest traits are more universal than exclusively American. Oh, and also by highlighting the entire arc of Steve Rogers in Captain America movies and Sam Wilson in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know, media literacy. Maybe get some.
Do I care if an actor likes President or doesn't like President Trump? No, he doesn't have to like President Trump. I like President Trump, but I can still, that's the thing. Actors, even people on the internet, on social media, influencers, if you will. I hate that term because what the whole influencers term has created is like turning us into pseudo celebrities, and we're not. I'm telling you, we are just who have a camera. That's it. I mean, I guess you could say the same about celebrities.
You know, it's incredible that Mellow Yellow here just recognized her own humility as a content creator, but diminishes that self-reflection by tossing out an ableist slur. I guess, gotta use some slurs given that she can't use her favorite one.
Every time I talk about, oh, Jason Momoa, I like his movies, or, oh, I think he seems like a jolly dude, but he's a liberal. Okay. Okay, like most people are dumb. I mean, all people are dumb. I'm just going to say it. All people are dumb. End of, cut, done. We're done with the show, right? All people are dumb. I'm kind of hijacking my own video.
I mean, yeah, celebrities say dumb shit all the time, but you sure seem to take offense to what Anthony Mackie said, even though it really wasn't that bad, and you just got mad about Mackie not having as much of a boner for America as you do.
Anthony Mackie here, I've seen some comments when I talked about him on my last video, and they're like, what a bummer, I liked him, but not anymore. And it's like, you can still like him. You can just think he's a because everyone's a So, yeah, anyway. And those of us who follow Jesus were like, we know we're all right? We know we're and we don't deserve the grace of Jesus Christ. We know it. But that's why we pray for people. And we can see other and we can just be like, I'm going to pray they find Jesus. Like, I have a soft spot in my heart for this person. I'm going to pray that they find Jesus. Yeah. So anyways, all right, this is, I don't know.
You know, I think your statement about caring for others would come off far more genuine if you didn't use the same ableist slur over and over and over. And even less so when clearly we know you want to use homophobic slurs. And just, no, you don't get to spew all that hatred and then pretend that you care about people with different politics. I gotta say, not very Christ-like. Not to mention, there really wasn't much of a point to this video. If you start the video wanting to talk about the associations that Captain America 4 has with the Trump presidency, the conclusion should be something more than just remarking, everybody's fucking dumb, because that just sounds like a lazy way to exit a conversation that you really didn't want to have. And since we know Mary Melanie's is just bubbling with homophobia, let's dive into the deeper end with her video on Pixar and LGBTQ themes.
Disney has continually produced flop after flop after flop. Even Pixar, look at what happened with the Buzz Lightyear movie, after incorporating some gay themes to it, because that's what Disney has been trying to shoehorn to children. Gay perversion themes. Right?
No, you're not right. Before I address why, though, you said Lightyear had gay themes, as in plural. Are you referring to the one lesbian kiss in the Lightyear movie, which only lasts a few frames? The one kiss that the staff had to fight for because Disney wanted it removed? You really think that lesbian kiss, most mild, was shoehorned into the movie specifically by Disney on a corporate level? There are many accounts from those who worked within Disney that pushing anything gay was a struggle. But yeah, sure, one kiss and Disney's fallen to the LGBTQ mafia. That sounds believable in the mind of Christopher Melonie Mac.
Well, then they become a bit desperate given their losses, and they're like, hey, Inside Out 2, we need this to sell well. We need money because we have been failing. So let's dial back and let's play it safe and not incorporate any of these gay themes. And guess what? It becomes a massive success.
Do you really think Inside Out 2 was a massive success because it didn't have any gay themes? Or do you think it was because, you know, it was a continuation of a revered movie? Because Pixar sequels have historically performed far better. Inside Out 2 performed incredibly well by making well over $1 billion at the box office. And you know what Pixar movies previously made $1 billion at the box office? It was Toy Story 4, The Incredibles 2, and Finding Dory. All of them sequels to Pixar properties from a decade ago. Much like, you know, Inside Out 2. And which Pixar movies did not make $1 billion? Well, it was Elemental, Turning Red, Luca, Soul, and Onward. And what do all of these films have in common? They're all original movies. They're not sequels. Now, yes, it is true that Disney has been cowardly backing off queer representation, but I don't know, Sideshow Melanie. Somehow, I don't think audiences were gauging whether or not they'd go to Inside Out 2 based entirely on whether it has gay stuff in it. Maybe you do, but that's because you're a weird homophobe.
So let's go ahead and dive into this article and talk more about it. I haven't seen Inside Out at all. I haven't watched anything from Disney or Pixar in a while, to be honest. That's new that I can think of off the top of my head, at least.
Cool. Very cool. I love getting my news about Pixar movies from people who don't fucking watch Pixar movies. That's just the hallmark of a credible source tapped into pop culture.
IGN here on X wrote Inside Out 2 is the highest grossed animated film ever, but behind the scenes, Pixar workers grappled with crunch, layoffs, and avoidance of LGBTQ plus hashtag perverted themes. Our report of the tumultuous making of the sequel to one of the most beloved Pixar films ever. And then you see a lot of, I'm seeing a ton of replies just saying avoiding LGBTQ themes was the reason for its success.
Of course you see that excuse. That's because you're on X, the cesspool of social media platforms. Stop going to the Nazi website for your news and social interactions.
The gays on X still tried to pretend like this was a gay movie. Still tried. I don't know if you guys saw that, right, when this movie was first coming out and all that. But they were posting, it went pretty viral, one thread did, where they posted a picture of the girl who I believe is 13 years old, mind you, and they're sexualizing this 13-year-old. Oh, don't pretend like y'all are pretending like she's straight. Y'all know that she likes to do XYZ, naming gay acts, that gay perverted acts that they in their headcanon are imagining this 13-year-old girl doing. Disgusting. Perverted.
How would you know, Melanie Return of the Mac? You openly admitted that you didn't watch the movie. You have no insight to counter such claims. I, however, did watch Inside Out 2, and it's pretty clear from the framing that there was something going on beyond mere friendship between Riley and Val. And no, it's not perverted or sexualizing these characters just because they would fall in love. Riley is 13 years old. Romantic love is not exactly the most foreign of feelings for that age.
The whole LGBTQ identity and all of that, it all is about sex. That's all it's about.
Nope. That's what it's about for you, because you're a bigot.
If you are putting sexuality on a child, oh, but what about straight? But what about... Bro, straight is your default setting. Straight human being. This is like, oh, they are a human being. They are how God made them. That's not placing a sexuality on them, because there is no such thing as sexualities. Straight is not a sexuality. It is a default setting. It is being a human being. That is normal and how God created us. It is not a sexuality.
Really? So heterosexuality is not a sexuality. Even if you only view straight relationships as the default, that's still a sexuality, because that's how words work. But yeah, sure, let's just toss out centuries of biological, psychological, and cultural studies because you believe God says gays are gross.
Gay isn't a sexuality. This, that, and the other isn't a sexuality. It is a perversion. It is going against your default setting.
Even if you find non-straight sexualities gross, they are still sexualities. Are you going to wage a war with the dictionary now?
Kink and perversion is not the same thing. These are actions that you can choose to participate in or not participate in. We can't control the color of our skin. You can control what you're doing with your buttholes and stuff, okay? So don't pretend, oh, but it's my identity. Oh, no. Oh, and you want to talk about gay kid? You're a pervert if you call a kid gay. You are a pervert. You are a PDF file. Okay. That's going to make people mad.
And why do you think that is, Melonie Mac? Why do you think people would be mad at you for saying gay people are all perverts? Do you think it might be that saying all this makes you sound like a hateful person and makes your Christian beliefs all the more incongruous? Just a reminder that this whole rant was from merely reading a headline from an article that she hasn't read about a movie that she has not watched.
But I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it. And this is why society has turned into what it has and why we have all these problems now.
Why did all of my bills go up? This must be the doing of the gays.
We started welcoming this stuff. Look at the fall of Rome. Look at the fall of all these nations. Do you think America can't fall? Look at the trajectory we're at right now, and how a lot of people are scared about the future, are scared about even this election and the outcome and what that means for our future.
Yeah, a lot of people were terrified during the 2024 election about America's future. But do you recall the most terrifying shit of all during that election? It was Project 2025, a political initiative developed by the right-wing think tank, the Heritage Foundation. Everything about this initiative was grotesque, including everything from restricting abortion to destroying LGBTQ rights to gutting healthcare. Donald Trump won the election, enacted many of these projects' goals, and everything in America is objectively worse now. It's also very ridiculous that homosexuality is blamed for the fall of Rome. There are a lot of people who say shit like this, and they're wrong. There are a lot of factors contributing to the fall of Rome, but gay people are not one of them. And any historian worth their salt can tell you that. I mean, shit, there's a better case to be made that Christianity was what led to the fall of Rome, based on when that religion entered the empire.
America can see, America isn't guaranteed to be a superpower forever. And accepting all of this degeneracy is a huge, massive reason why so many people are scared about the future of this country, because this country started accepting perversion, and this country started representing and celebrating perversion. God doesn't like that. Read 1 Kings and 2 Kings.
No, I don't think America is going to fall because bigots like you can't discriminate against gay people. I think it might fall because of all the other stuff. You know, the important stuff like inflation, healthcare, oil costs, and being unfairly targeted by the state. I'm pretty sure most people care about that rather than whether or not a Disney movie has some mild gay themes. Oh, and also, the Bible's 1st and 2nd Kings do not support the claim that God hates gay people. These passages are about male cultic shrine prostitutes, but they are not condemned for being in same-sex relationships. They spoke more explicitly about the praise of foreign gods. It's not about condemning homosexuality. It's about condemning pagan idolatry. So yeah, she's pretty terrible at weaponizing Christianity as an excuse to be an asshole.
That's the thing you've got to do. You've got to, if you want a nation to succeed, here is your 3-step plan. Step 1, remove idols. Step 2, remove sexual immorality, perversion. But like in 1 Kings, 2 Kings, it was the shrine prostitutes. They had male prostitutes that were rampant, and the Asherah poles, the idols. Step 3, pray for the country. Acknowledge Jesus Christ.
See how bad she is at this? I'm going to skip through most of this video because it's just her poorly reading this article, and it seems like she didn't really read it ahead of time.
They also said, where was that? About the... This is a gigantic article, and I do not feel like reading all of it. So there was a mention, okay, playing it safe. We're just gonna do easy mode. Okay.
She doesn't watch Pixar movies, she can't read the Bible critically, and she can't even be bothered to read articles on the topic she's covering in this video. So she just keeps repeating herself that children's media shouldn't have gay representation. And I've heard this cry before, you know, people saying, I don't have a problem with gay people, it's just, you know, I don't want any homosexuality in children's media because I don't think children can handle it.
This is just where we're at. I mean, obviously, seeing this being acknowledged, seeing a lot of people leave their feedback on it and saying, hey, this is good. This is good that they avoided those themes. This is a show for children, a movie for children. That's another thing, right? That makes it even more. Okay, you definitely shouldn't be putting gay crap in children's shows. I don't think we should be putting it in anything. Not for adult movies either.
Actually, never mind what I just said. It's not just children's media. She doesn't want anything gay in any media for any demographic.
People so much want to tell me, oh, just mind your own business. Why do you care about what queer people are doing and this and that? Well, first of all, I don't want to see them go to hell. Oh, you're so hateful. I'm not hating anybody. To me, what's hateful would be to encourage that behavior. Encourage behavior that is harming themselves and harming society. That's hateful. Encouraging that.
You just called all gay people perverts, hateful slurs, and declared that they are going to burn in hell for their sexuality. Fuck off with this "I'm not hateful, I'm just a good Christian" defense. The remainder of this video is just her repeating herself without saying much about Inside Out 2. And mind you, the movie had been out for months by the time she made this video. She could have seen the movie to offer her perspective and counter the possible gay themes, but she didn't. She was too busy reading the Bible and bitching about how gay people are awful. But there's no excuse with X-Men 97. That show debuted on streaming, and she could certainly watch a few episodes in between misreading scripture. So let's see what she has to say about this revival cartoon, of which she watched the first 2 episodes. Personally, I thought the show was pretty good. It did stumble a little bit with the voice acting in the first few episodes, but it did find a good groove, and it actually took some big risks. But what are Melonie Macadamia's thoughts on the show?
I do think that the characters, their personalities, and all that are pretty accurate. I don't think they're as good as the 90s, the actual 90s version. But I do think that they still mainly stuck with the characters' overall recognizability, right? So we didn't get any overt race swaps, gender swaps, or anything like that.
Okay, weird thing to be concerned about considering this is a direct sequel to the X-Men cartoon. You know, the cartoon known for directly lifting stories from the comics, which X-Men 97 did as well.
Not yet, at least. It's not too late. I mean, despite Morph being called non-binary in some of the interviews or whatever, and by the way, Morph is a total if you didn't catch what I said, he's fruity. So
well, at least she censored her homophobic slur. But the fact that she had to censor herself in real time makes it pretty clear she really, really wants to use some hateful slurs. Also, is it really that frustrating that Morph, a character that can literally turn into both genders, would be non-binary? Because that doesn't sound like a massive altercation to the character.
But there definitely are some woke undertones. Let's not pretend there aren't.
Fascinating. I thought the elements that were deemed woke by the anti-woke crowd were pretty evident in the show, but maybe there were some undertones that I missed.
On episode 2 especially, they lay it on pretty thick. Now, in the first episode, not as much, but on the second one, certainly. I will say, too, that this cartoon as a whole, even the woke elements aside, it lacks the heart. I just don't think that modern writers are as good as older writers used to be. They're just not.
Okay, we're not really getting into specifics here, but maybe she's just laying the groundwork for talking about the show more in depth.
A lot of the stuff that we see just doesn't have the same heart to it. And I think because it's just more vapid, if you will. And that's what it really feels like here. Not to mention the animation looks like it's made with Flash or something. It lacks the soul of the 90s cartoon of X-Men.
Speaking as someone who has been using Flash since the days of Macromedia, no, it doesn't look like Flash. I don't know how anybody could watch the opening episode with the attack on the Sentinels and say that animation looks cheap and lifeless. Also, I'm going to defend this updated animation because if you actually watch the original 1990s cartoon, It was poorly timed. Many scenes were rushed and felt off in the action, as though the directors were worried they wouldn't fit the entire script into a half-hour episode. There are a few problems with X-Men 97, but I think the animation was an improvement.
I just want to talk a little bit about some of the undertones, some of the things that I noticed on the second episode that I felt was a lot more woke pandering. So for certain, and which I'll read a little more on here from Bounding into Comics. So Hollywood director argues X-Men 97 chose to adapt the trial of Magneto in order to take a swing at the MAGA crowd. I definitely did feel like there was some swings being made at the MAGA crowd.
And do you know why the violent protesters of this episode were perceived as an allegory for the MAGA crowd? Because they're bigots who want the rights of others taken away and to dismantle the civility of due process. You know, like the insurrection on January 6th. If you saw the hateful rhetoric of the protesters in this cartoon and thought, oh, they're taking a swing at MAGA, maybe it's because MAGA looks that bad.
I think the overall message that we're getting is definitely trying to take a swing at anybody who's not on board with woke ideology. They're definitely trying to insert this oppression. Hey, we're oppressed. We need affirmation. This, that, and the other type message. And what you'll see with, there was a fight scene, for example, and one of the humans was like, hey, humans have problems too. You don't see us whining about it. I hate that you whine about it, and I hate you. And that to me definitely felt like a jab at people who are not affirming, for example, the victim mindset with people that they're trying to push. The whole like, oh, let's make women and Black people victims, right? Or the alphabet community. Oh, we need affirmation. Oh, we're victims, constant victim mentality. And so whenever people push back and say, hey, everybody has problems, we're not whining about it. We're not playing victim. That's what they're saying. They're not saying, I hate you. They're saying, hey, can you just not be a victim? Can you get out of this victim mentality? Because that doesn't help anybody.
Dismissing somebody's plight by saying everybody has problems is not an effective argument. This is sometimes referred to as the fallacy of relative privation. It's an argument that whatever problems you might be facing are relatively minuscule compared to bigger problems. This argument doesn't work because the entire purpose is not to address the problem, but to sweep it away. Who cares about the high prices you have to pay at the grocery store? There are homeless people who can't afford food. Did your mother die? Well, tons of people are dying in Gaza. You have problems? Well, everybody has problems. And if everybody has problems, then nobody's problems truly matters, but especially yours. Melanie on Demon here is arguing this point as a means of victim blaming. Specifically, she cites women and Black people, believing they should just stop whining and fix everything themselves instead of making systemic problems more vocal. Because if you individualize problems, they don't have to be your problems, and you can just yell at whoever is bringing them up to shut up because you don't like the volume.
There is also a scene where Storm in the courtroom is like, silence, blah, 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 like says her spiel. And it was a total on the nose, stay silent when a Black woman speaks moment. I was like, wow.
Excuse me, but Storm controls the fucking weather. You do not speak over a woman like that.
But here in the cartoon, they have something that really stood out to me where they're trying to insert some of their ideologies into this. Because like when I think of X-Men, of actual, more of the old school X-Men and the stuff that I watched from the 90s, I always had the impression and the message that it left me was, yeah, did the X-Men want to be accepted by society? Yes. But the overall message was, at least my takeaway, was that, hey, society does not accept the X-Men. They're mutants, they're freaks. They're freaks of society. They're rejects. And yet they still choose to protect humanity, the world. So they're protecting the very people who hate them. And that just showed their character. That just showed that, hey, they're heroes in this area, in this way. Because, I mean, it's easy to help people who love you.
I mean, sure, the X-Men help humanity, but they still don't tolerate their bullshit. You have a very poor interpretation of the 1990s cartoon. Did you forget the first episode where the mutants attack the government's mutant registration program designed to target and kill mutants? Did you forget the resulting trial for Beast, who was imprisoned without bail for being considered a threat? Did you forget when Wolverine almost sliced into humans after Beast is beaten at the end of his hearing? If all you took away from this cartoon was that you just need to play nice with people who want to hurt you, that is a huge reduction of the show's thoughtful nature. I'm almost certain that Mel Mac Chopra here has not watched the cartoon since she was a child, because that sounds like a very childish take.
But now what I get more so from this cartoon is like, why aren't you affirming me? Affirm me. Now, again, they wanted that, but it just seems different.
Maybe it seems different now because your current politics do not align with those in the X-Men cartoon. Also, I don't think appealing to the government by saying, hey, let's not murder me and my friends for being different, is some whining for affirmation. These are the same politics that were present in the X-Men animated series of the 1990s. But since you've gone all Christian conservative with a major hate boner for gay people, you now have to grapple with the fact that you can't understand the social plight of the mutants in the X-Men. That is why this new cartoon seems different to somebody like you, while it just looks like X-Men to everybody else.
And a lot of what we're seeing from like the Alphabet Mafia, for example, what we're seeing from them and how they want to call themselves, basically, like they want to pretend like the X-Men were created to represent them. Oh yeah, the X-Men is a queer story. You know, this modern one's definitely trying to push that. But the old school stuff, oh yeah, it was all about queers all along. It was all about queers and marginalized people. They think that they're the X-Men, basically.
The X-Men are mutants who face discrimination from powerful, oppressive forces. So yeah, a lot of marginalized people can relate to these characters. And while much of the X-Men's plight reflects the civil rights movement, there are still stories that reflect the queer community. Remember the legacy virus and how it parallels the AIDS epidemic that affects gay people? Or the first gay wedding in 2004's Astonishing X-Men? Well, okay, she probably doesn't remember that. I mean, she admitted that she didn't read the comics, but she did say that she watched the X-Men movies. Okay, so do you remember that scene in X2, X-Men United, where Iceman confesses to his parents that he's a mutant? That's essentially a coming out scene, akin to someone admitting to their parents that they're gay. The association is even hammered home when his mother asks him, have you tried not being mutant? You know, like, can you try not being gay? Because his parents don't accept him for who he is? Do you get it yet? But I'm sure Melanie Big Max has some excuse for why gay people shouldn't identify with the X-Men.
The overall message of, hey, here are the X-Men who are helping people, and what separated them from the villains, right? The good mutants from the bad ones, was that the good ones were still protecting society, this very society that hated them. We don't see that with the Alphabet Mafia. You don't see any of that. You see the opposite of that. The Alphabet Mafia act like the villains of X-Men, if we're being real. They act like the villains of X-Men. It's like they want to force themselves on society. They want to force their ideologies on everybody, and they want to brainwash and bring more people in to their ideologies.
Okay, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. The LGBTQ community is having more of their basic human rights stripped away, and you're acting like those people, the ones being persecuted and demonized by our own government, are the villains in X-Men. Okay, so this is a common problem with allegorical media and the idiotic Christian conservatives who consume it. You see, for those who can't read allegories and themes, they think they're the rebels of any story. Conservatives look at the X-Men and they say, that's me, I'm just like them. Wolverine never outright stated that he supports trans rights. Cyclops never stated that he was gay. Charles Xavier never claimed he was just like Martin Luther King. And Beast never said he only votes Democrat. Therefore, the X-Men must represent my values and nothing else. This is also why they hate it when you point out the obvious allegorical connections, because it makes them look dumb. So no, Melonoscopy Mac, I strongly disagree that the LGBTQ community are the villains of X-Men. But you know who I do view as the villains of X-Men? People who demonize others because they're different, remove their basic human rights, and try to shame them with offensive slurs because it threatens their view of normalcy. You know, people like you.
Now, something that stood out here with one of the lines in the cartoon for X-Men 97 was so he talks about being a freak of a mutant, and when he talks about, yes, here we go, born a mutant, an abomination to their misnamed gods. Like, what is that who's that? What's that pointed at? An abomination to their misnamed gods. Well, God in the Bible, the real true God in the Bible, calls homosexuality an abomination. Okay? And I believe the Bible. I believe no matter what is in, like, the Bible is truth. Whether I like it or not, it's true.
When Christians claim that God considers homosexuality an abomination, they're likely referring to passages from Leviticus. Specifically, quote, "You shall not lie with a male as with a woman, for this is an abomination." But those passages have been mistranslated from their context, referring less to homosexuality and more to incest and pedophilia, which is not the same as homosexuality. If you were to read the Bible this way, there are a lot of passages that would also condemn heterosexuality based on the association. So I guess Melanie Bellany reads the Bible about as critically as she does the X-Men.
And so you even have Magneto call the people bigots. Bigots! Yeah.
I mean, yeah, bigotry was kind of a big element of the X-Men cartoon. Why are you pretending that it wasn't? Seriously, go back and watch the original cartoon. I think you'll be shocked by how woke it was for not being afraid to address bigotry.
In the opinion of the aforementioned Russo, the scene was specifically chosen for adaptation in X-Men 97 in order to take a swing at MAGA voters. Do you think the MAGA crowd has figured out that episode 2 of X-Men 97 is about them and the January 6th insurrectionists yet? Or nah, because January 6th, they can't get over it. That is, they're obsessed with it. It's their 9/11.
Considering the January 6th insurrection was an attempt to dismantle our democratic process, where politicians were targeted and people died during this attack on the Capitol, it's not exactly something to take lightly. You can see that event reflected in the episode, where Magneto's trial is disrupted by people who want to kill him.
You know, I think what we've seen with a lot of modern adaptations of stuff is just overt, blatant, in your face changes with like race swap characters and gender swapped characters, this, that, and the other. So I feel like they're trying a subtle approach here. Oh, let's mix some nostalgia with it. Okay, they're trying to be more subtle about it with their woke ideologies that they're inserting into this, but it's still there. They just mix in some nostalgia and they think they're gonna get away with it, but it's still there.
It is the same stuff from the original cartoon. Bigotry was always an issue in the show. Relatable allegorical representation was always in the show. If you think an X-Men cartoon acknowledging bigotry is woke, maybe X-Men was never for you. In addition to being terrible at reading the messaging in media, Melba Toast Mac also fails at reading when rumors are false. Take, for example, her coverage of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, in which she brings up that Master Splinter has a boyfriend now.
Hi, nice to meet you. What's your name? Sorry to scare you like that on a Wednesday or whenever you're watching this. Not really sorry, but anyway, Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the new Mutant Mayhem is rumored as being gay right now.
Okay, I'm going to spare you the remaining 19 minutes of this shitty video where she mostly just bashes on queer people. Also, because I don't really have to try that hard to debunk this video, the rumor that Splinter is gay is just a lie, despite being built on confusion. The confusion stemmed from marketing materials that falsely referred to the character Scumbug as a man. In the movie, Splinter hooks up with Scumbug by the end, but the movie clearly refers to Scumbug as a woman. Splinter was not gay as Melocomotion bemoans. It was a marketing error, but hey, why waste a chance to boast about how much you hate gay people? Now, all of these videos are pretty bad, but they were from years ago, and Mel Mac has made many changes in her life since then. She took a hiatus from YouTube for many months to focus on getting married, and when she returned to her channel as a married woman, she said that she would steer away from the culture war. So maybe that time away from YouTube did her some good, and she'll stop with the culture war bullshit on movies and TV shows that she doesn't fully comprehend. Just kidding, she went back to doing the same shit. Here she is bitching about the Supergirl movie.
Oh, it looks like the Supergirl movie is gonna be terrible. I know we're 2 months before release, but guess what? Millie Alcock, the lead actress for this movie, is already doing damage control. Already giving excuses for why this is going to flop. By pulling that victim card, that, my misogyny. They're not gonna like this because my misogyny. Cause I'm a woman. And people don't like women.
Oh, here we go again. Yep, I remember this song. I know the stuff she's gonna say here.
Here we have, she's already saying she's gonna face backlash simply by existing as a woman. It's like, no, she's not gonna get backlash because maybe she underperformed in the role. Maybe she wasn't good. Maybe the movie just was bad. Maybe the writing was bad. Whatever it may be. No, it's not going to be that. It's going to be because my misogyny. So here she says, it definitely made me aware that simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on. We have become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. I can't really stop them. I can only be myself. Okay, so this is addressing in a new interview where she'll face backlash over leading Warner Brothers Supergirl simply because she's playing a female superhero, right? So, but no, she's no stranger to this because she's dealt with it before, you guys.
Yeah, I doubt it would surprise anybody to mention at this point that Melanie Macklemore works with the quartering.
I had no interest in this, and this is from somebody who liked Superman, the last Superman movie. I defended it. I liked it. I even, some people were like mad that I liked it. I don't know. I guess they felt betrayed that I liked it. I don't know how one would feel betrayed if I like a movie that they don't like, but alas, I did get some comments.
Okay, it is honestly adorable that Melanie Sacklunch is oblivious to why some people didn't like her praise for 2025 Superman. In case you're wondering, the backlash against the Superman movie stemmed from James Gunn being very open about Superman being more political. So, statements made before the movie came out, which is the very thing that she is reacting to right now. Gosh, it's almost like bitching about these fairly common statements made before a movie doesn't actually affect the movie itself. But no, Millie spoke about some garden variety perspectives on the topic of sexism, and now you can't watch the movie in theaters. What a world you live in.
In terms of her using that card, the victimhood misogyny card, it just makes no sense. I'm so sick of seeing this. And the same with whenever these movies, it's just like, oh, wow, it's just amazing to see a movie with a black lead finally succeed when there's a bazillion of them and they've existed for a very long time. And then you have, we have the same with, what was it, K-pop Demon Hunters, or where they're just like somebody, I can't remember because I didn't watch it, at the Grammys or whatever it was, one of those, elite crazy events where they're just like, it's just so nice that people can't look like us can feel seen. Meanwhile, to act like they're the only successful Korean film adaptation. It's just absolute insanity and disrespectful to everything before it.
Oh yeah, there are just too many highly successful Korean movies that garner massive praise and Oscar wins. Like sure, K-pop Demon Hunters is the first animated film directed by a Korean woman featuring Korean actors and set in South Korea to gain this much attention and popularity, but hello, have you heard of a little film called Parasite? Did you forget that Parasite won the Academy Award for Best Picture? And sure, Parasite wasn't animated, it wasn't directed by a Korean woman, and didn't have anywhere near the same level of popularity, but still, way to take a dump on the one other Korean film in the past 7 years to win a major award, even though that was not what was being said in that statement.
Superman wasn't able to be a monumentally massive success, like, right, in terms of recouping its costs and all that stuff, which I do believe that it did better, or that it made its budget back, but it didn't just like kick butt, right? And so it didn't perform as well as we would hope that a Superman movie would perform. So what makes you think that a spin-off with Supergirl is worth investing into the time, the resources, and all that stuff?
Because it looks badass, and it's based on a cool story from the comics, that being Woman of Tomorrow. Also, it's produced under James Gunn's leadership, whose DC Comics projects have been a breath of fresh air after the DCEU. Not to mention, Gunn has succeeded in making lesser DC Comics characters fun. Like, do you think general audiences knew about Peacemaker, King Shark, or Polka Dot Man before Gunn's The Suicide Squad, or even The Suicide Squad in general, given the previous failure of the last movie adaptation? Because they didn't, but that movie, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, kicked so much ass, and those characters were hilarious. So it's really strange to pretend that there isn't some joy to be had in an adaptation of Supergirl, a far more recognizable character.
If Superman didn't really gain as much interest as hoped and didn't meet what we would hope to see, then what? Supergirl? And not because she's a woman. Just because, like, she's a spin-off character, a lesser character than Superman. She's a side character in Superman. Right? I know she has her own franchises and all, like, her own comics and all that, but they're spin-offs. So it's not going to have the same impact as Superman.
Oh, fuck off. Supergirl has had her own comic books since 1972 and has been a persistent character in her own right without needing to appear in Superman comics. Supergirl previously had her own movie, which wasn't good, but it wasn't because of the character, it was because it was poorly written and it looked cheap. If the character didn't have some iconography, there wouldn't be a reason to make a movie specifically about her in the 1980s. She has been in various DC Comics animated movies, including Legion of Superheroes, where she is the central hero. She also appeared in numerous DC Comics animated series like Superman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, Justice League Unlimited, Justice League Action, Young Justice, DC Superhero Girls, Harley Quinn, and the current series My Adventures with Superman, in which she plays a major role in Season 2. And last, but definitely not least, Supergirl had a fairly recent live-action TV show that lasted 6 seasons. So it's not like she's some nobody D-lister riding the coattails of Superman. Because out of all of these Superman-associated characters that you could make a movie out of, Supergirl is the safest bet. It'd be far more risky to make a movie based on Superboy or Steel or Eradicator. Most movie audiences are not familiar with these comic book characters because they haven't read The Death of Superman, but they do know Supergirl, what with all the Supergirl media we have, which you would know if you weren't such a tourist in the culture war.
So yeah, I just don't have any faith in this at all. I don't think it's gonna be great. Hey, maybe it is though. If it is, I will admit it. I will be the first to admit it. But I don't expect it to be, and I don't really have any interest in seeing it until it hits streaming services, maybe, but even then, I don't know. And, well, unless people are just like, wow, this is actually really good. okay, I'll give it a shot in that case.
Yeah, maybe the movie is really good and none of the shit you talked about mattered at all. How wonderful it is that you added your highly useless voice to this conversation. But this is just standard anti-woke bitching. I mean, doesn't she have something more substantial to say? Maybe she's better in conversations, as with this podcast from The Quartering, where she talks about the revival series for Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, and they also made the wheelchair guy gay. You know,
Really?
was his name Stevie? He was always had asthma.
How can a wheelchair guy be gay? Like, can he?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm just. You think if he's like, well, where does the paralysis start? Because
yeah, that's true.
that
I
almost sounds
Melanie
like.
has questions.
I'm
She
thinking
needs
if
to
the
know.
wheelchair guy is gay, then obviously he can't be the dude part of that. So that almost feels abusive for a guy.
Oh, and he's like super gay. He like wears earrings and stuff. Like they've feminized him.
That
No, I think
seems
there's-
so wrong for a dude to be doing
Yeah.
a wheelchair guy. I don't know. I can't. It seems messed up on so many levels, man.
Okay. This right here. This is why associating being gay with being strictly about sex makes you sound like an idiot. If somebody is gay and in a wheelchair, the most dumbass thing you could ask them is, how can you be gay when you're in a wheelchair? That sounds like something a sheltered child who has little experience in the world would say, and she just couldn't help but sling some homophobia and ableism combined to form one of the most stupid statements ever made about Malcolm in the Middle. Okay, I've had enough of Melanie and her Bible-based bashing, so let's talk about a film that actually addresses Christianity beyond the desire to be grossly hateful. 1988's The Last Temptation of Christ might be one of the best movies about Jesus Christ, second only to The Gospel According to St. Matthew. Willem Dafoe portrays Jesus less as a divine figure and more as a man. His character was based on what would have defined him as a man in his lifetime. It is very much in line with how director Martin Scorsese and screenwriter Paul Schrader have delved into the portrayals of complicated and flawed men. As such, they didn't want to present a sanitized and wholesome depiction of Jesus Christ that was safe for Sunday school viewing, especially for a scene between Jesus and Mary where they do what married people do. The movie's most controversial swing is in presenting Jesus on the cross, hallucinating a life where he isn't the Messiah. He doesn't die on the cross until he accepts his own sacrifice. This thoughtful depiction of Jesus Christ did not sit well with many Christians who considered it blasphemous. It led to protests, terrorist attacks, and even death threats against Martin Scorsese. It was considered so offensive to some Christians that evangelist Bill Bright went so far as offering to buy the film so that he could burn it. And then there is Catholic nun Mother Angelica, who went so far as to call the movie, quote, a Holocaust movie that has the power to destroy souls eternally. But like, come on, if your faith is that easily broken by a mere movie challenging religious perceptions and text, then it doesn't really sound like you have much faith in your own beliefs. Because there was a similar reaction to Monty Python's The Life of Brian, a hilarious comedy that doesn't satirize Jesus Christ so much as religious dogma. And yet, many Christians wanted to condemn this movie because it dared to find the funny in biblical stories. The desire to shut these films down, to ban and censor them, doesn't make Christianity seem strong. It only weakens the religion, showcasing how easily fragile such spirituality can be.
When I've read the newspaper reports about the religious leaders and groups who have said the film is offensive and blasphemous, I must say that I went looking for that in a way, and I just didn't find it. If anybody who sees Monty Python's Flying Circus on television is not going to find too much in this movie to upset or surprise them. It's a funny, silly, harmless movie.
I feel bad having to defend it. You know, I wonder about these religious leaders who say things like this. Do they think that people who have deep personal religious faith will have that faith shaken by a 90-minute movie? How shallow, how patronizing, how insulting to people of faith.
Melanie Mac isn't a new voice in this regard. There are plenty of Christians who still believe they are in the right for being homophobic, transphobic, ableist, and racist, all in the name of doing God's will. But they're often not well read on their own religion, and even less so on the pop culture they wish to protest. It's why Melanie can repeat how we need Jesus and his teachings of love, while in the same breath calling gay people abominations that deserve hateful words. It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to for the audience who just wants to embrace the hate. It doesn't matter if Melanie misreads the translations of the Bible or doesn't understand the themes of X-Men. I doubt she cares about being proven wrong on these subjects because she only cares about controlling the conversation. When I watched her videos, I didn't feel like I was watching someone who was well-versed in her spirituality or was deeply invested in pop culture. All I can see is just somebody who wants to hate, considering her other videos are mostly just queer bashing. That kind of hatred is no way to go through life, and it can only fester through ignorance. I would say that Melanie should consider reading more deeply into the Bible beyond her copy and doing more research on the pop culture that she wants to talk about, but I don't think she will. She has had plenty of time off to think about these topics and return to YouTube to do more of the same. She's just too deep into the culture war to turn back from this lifestyle. But it's not too late for you to be more mindful of our world, whether it's regarding religion or movies. So try to think a little more critically to better connect with others and our media. Otherwise, you might end up saying something as dumb as people in wheelchairs can't be gay. No matter your religion or lack thereof, I have faith that you can be better than Melanie Mack.
I can think of a movie I went to a few years ago called The Master of Disguise, and I was really getting into the story, and I was getting into the plight of the protagonist, and when a man pulled out his phone to text, and the glow from it just took me right out of it took me out of the illusion. I was no longer sold on the illusion. I didn't even enjoy the movie after that.
Richard Burnish.